Hey everybody, today I have to complete a task that I absolutely dread. And it's not because it's particularly difficult or challenging, it's cutting buds off of hydrangea trees. Now, I know 2 weeks ago I posted a video and I was trimming all kinds of branches off of hydrangeas, but it's a lot different once the buds start appearing because suddenly you know there's gonna be flowers soon. And I don't know, it's really difficult to say, hey, I'm gonna cut those flowers off before they even get a chance. But there's an important reason why I'm doing that. These are all hydrangea trees that we planted bare root this year. So in order for the branches to be really strong, we're gonna cut off the flower buds so that we have a little bit more energy going to those stems. So we're gonna get stronger stems. There is a chance that they're gonna still send up flowers later on in the season. There's also a chance that they won't, but I do expect that they probably will do something later on, probably more a month or so away, maybe a little bit more. So there is a chance they're still going to be beautiful. With those other ones that I cut 2 weeks ago, like I know that I'm going to get results and I know I'm still going to get flowers. These, well, it's hard to tell. Now last year we decided we weren't going to cut those flowers off because a lot of growers say like, oh no, you don't have to do that. That's not necessary. You can leave the flowers on, they'll be just fine. Well, what we found is that those flower heads still were the size of a regular hydrangea flower, a panicle hydrangea. So big giant flower heads, and the branches could hardly support them. And then when we put them out in the rain, all that weight was pulling down on them. So then we had to go in and cut the tips off of every flower so that they weren't so heavy. We did have some branches break. So all of that kind of made me think, you know what, it does pay for us to cut these off now. It's going to be better for the plant, less risk of breaking. Now, this is not something that you have to do with your hydrangea trees. By the time you get them, they should be strong enough and good enough for them that you don't have to worry about this. But this is a little behind the scenes of what goes on with growers when they're doing this. And, you know, there's lots of different ideas on how to make these work, but cutting off these flower heads seems to be the best for us, at least where we're at and where these are at right now as far as their growth cycle. So I'm going to do that right now. It is going to be hard, but I already did a bunch of them, and I kind of got over the whole shock of the massacre of cutting them all down. So I'll show you that, and then I'm going to give you an update on some of those other hydrangeas that I did trim before and some of the goals that I was trying to reach with those, and some of them are on their way. So stay tuned and have a look. I'll show you exactly what I'm doing right now. So these hydrangea trees have beautiful buds forming. You can see them up there, and those buds are going to just keep continuing up and up, and we're going to have nice big flower heads on there, except for the fact that I am going to trim them back. And what I'm going to do is basically take off where the flower heads are, and normally, like if I had just a couple to do, I would just take my bypass pruners and just kind of snip them all off. But I have quite a few to do, so I'm going to need to use a hedger. And so this is a little bit barbarian, but it gets the job done. And for where these are at, we're going to get new growth, and it's going to not be as noticeable later. So these here are the ones that I haven't done yet. And then over here, so I got to go under my tape, so you can see the ones that I haven't done over here. The ones that I have done are right here. So it's not a crazy difference. It's just that we cut off those flower heads. You can see there are still a couple stuck in there, so I may have to hand remove those later, but I'm going to just wait and see. So it's not a crazy trim back, but I think these trees are going to appreciate it down the road because they're going to have stronger branches and they're going to look better later. So they're still, a little sparse right now, but we're going to see a big difference over the next couple months or a month or two. So let's give it a go. The deed is done. I've got them all trimmed. They look okay. And I promise no more hydrangeas will be harmed throughout the rest of this video. This was just the job that had to be done today. And these plants are going to thank me for it. And I'm going to give you just a little reassurance on how these hydrangeas respond to pruning, because I do have one over here so 3 weeks ago when we had that big windstorm, this one lost all of its branches. The wind just was nailing it and it cracked off. And I just want to show you where it's at right now. 3 weeks later, there was not a green leaf on this thing 3 weeks ago. So let me show you what's happening. So take a look at this little fella. This is the one he got cracked off in the windstorm. You can see where his branches were. There was 1, 2, and 3. The third one was down there. But look, it's been 3 weeks, and look at how many new buds are coming off of there, I should say leaves. This thing is going to have lots of branches. He might actually completely bounce back. It's hard to believe there was absolutely not a single green leaf on this 3 weeks ago. And so this is all the new growth. And what's even more incredible is that last year we had a huge rainstorm, and this was a beautiful hydrangea tree, and the weight of those big flowers on it had actually cracked the stem. It had actually, the whole tree had bent down, bowed down, and he snapped right here, came back, had 3 really strong stems, and had flowers by the end of the season. Let's see what happens to this one. I'll keep you posted. And now I'm going to get you updated on those other hydrangeas that I worked on 2 weeks ago. I am back out front among all the hydrangeas, and I want to start with the Incredible Blush. That's the arborescent variety that I had trimmed back because I wanted to stagger the bloom time, and I also wanted to see if I could get some stronger stems on these younger plants that are still in pots, because sometimes with the arborescens, when they're young, their branches aren't quite as strong as they will in a more established plant. So by trimming them back, sometimes that will give you either more branches so they support each other, or stronger branches. So let's take a look at where things are at right now. So the plants that I didn't trim back are starting to bloom, and you can see these Incredibles have nice big flower heads. They start out a little bit darker pink, and then they're going to lighten up. They're going to be a real light blush. So this is the Incredible Blush, but I want to show you the ones that I did trim are right down here. So you can see that on each of these, wherever I trimmed it, we're getting a lot of growth on that kind of point right below it. So you can see we're going to have a lot more branches coming up very soon. This is going to be an incredibly full plant. It probably will still bloom later on in the season. It's just going to be way behind these other ones, which is fine because these are going to get people's attention right now. These are going to get your attention later on, and they are going to have a little bit different look. So we're going to have probably twice as many branches and flowers on these ones that I trimmed, but we still like the look of these too. So it's kind of a horse apiece which one you prefer, but you can see with all that new growth in there, there's going to be no problem with having a nice, full, beautiful, lush plant. Here's a look at that Macrophylla hydrangea that I had trimmed back. It had sticks kind of sticking out. I just trimmed back those. Those are the ones that didn't make it over the winter, but everything else looks absolutely fantastic on it. This is a Bloomstruck from Endless Summer, and you can see this is the one that had a little bit of sunburn, some bronzing on the leaves because we had it in too much sunlight, because the Bloomstruck doesn't like full sun. Well, you can look at all the new growth. That's all nice and lush and dark green and looking really happy. We don't have any of that lime edging as well. We had some discoloration on the leaves. The new growth is looking really great. Now we did give it some fertilizer, and we trimmed back those other things and other branches, and it looks absolutely beautiful and lots of blooms coming. So let's hear it for the Bloomstruck. Made it through the winter looking really, really good. Now next to it I have a completely different kind of hydrangea. This one is the Let's Dance Ariba, and this is a brand new one, but we did have a preview of it last year, and they were calling it one of the most floriferous hydrangeas on the market, and that sounded like marketing talk, but take a look. The whole thing definitely has more flowers than leaves, and it's incredible. So Let's Dance Ariba, I'm so impressed with it, but I kind of kept thinking, well, how is it going to do over a Michigan winter? Because a lot of times these Macrophyllas can be a little fussy for us, and this is one that can take full sun as well. So I wonder how it's going to do. Well, guess what? We wintered over a whole slew of them over here, and I'm going to give you a peek. The sun's kind of shining bright on these, so it might be a little hard to see. Let me kind of put a little shadow in there. Okay, so take a look at this. Now, these are going to be a lot smaller than those. Those came from a grower from farther south, but these are the ones that we wintered over ourselves in pots. So these did not have even full in-ground service. Now they were insulated a little bit, so we did winterize them a bit, but look at how many flowers are on the ones that we winterized. So this went through a Michigan winter in a pot, and look at how good it's looking and how many flowers. I mean, we are actually getting flowers with full color. And these are the varieties that will change color depending on your soil type. So I'm just very impressed with this variety. I'm so happy that it's flowering too, because that was the thing I was afraid of. Like, what if, it looks great when you buy it, but then next year it just doesn't make it through the winter? Well, this thing is going to bloom, and it's going to be a lot happier in the ground than in these pots. So it's a real winner for us. So I'm thrilled about this one. So very good news on there. So I know what everybody really wants to know is how that paniculata variety is doing, the one that I cut back all the branches except for 3 in an effort to get giant blooms on them. So all the energy wasn't going to a whole bunch of flowers, it was just going to 3. And there is a difference in those versus the other ones. And I didn't just do the one firelight that I showed you, I did a couple others just because I wanted to have a couple samples and to see if different varieties behave differently. So I can show you the update on those. They're not flowering yet, of course, but you can see a difference. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens with those next. So this is what the regular firelight hydrangeas are looking like, and this is what the one that I had trimmed back looks like. Now, one thing that happened is we had a giant windstorm, and it did have an effect on my branches. So this one here actually cracked off, and I'm going to remove that one just because it's not going to be as strong and it's not growing very straight. So I really want a nice tall upright one, so I'm going to leave that. But when I look at the size of this stem, I don't know if you can really tell from looking at this. So that's that stem. The thickest stem on this one is over here, and there is quite a difference. It's almost double, maybe not quite. So that's a pretty incredible difference. So by putting all that extra energy into those fewer branches, we are already getting a stronger, bigger stem. I also had done another firelight, and that one lost 2 branches. So that windstorm really did do a number. Now, the Quickfire Fab, I tried it on this one, and you can see those 3 did hold up. And again, when we look at the size of those branches on that one, I'm gonna bring up this one here, you can see how much thicker the trimmed one here is compared to the ones that aren't trimmed. So there's quite a difference. And the Quickfire Fab is one of those varieties that is gonna bloom earlier than the others. So we're kind of excited about that. You can see the regular one has tons and tons of blooms. And I don't know what to do over here because we have lots of branching happening up at the top. So I don't know if we're gonna get tons of flowers. Again, this is an experiment. I haven't done it before. This is the Limelight Prime. So this is another one that I had done. You can see how it compares to the regular Limelight Primes. Again, stronger stems, although these stems are not nearly as, it doesn't have to show as much of the bigger thickness as the other ones, but there is a difference. And this is just your traditional Limelight over here. And again, these stems are notably thicker than these stems over here. So really happy to see that we're seeing at least something different. We'll see how it all plays out in the end. So I'm kind of excited about all of these because this is one of those experiments that, hey, I just got to find out how this all works. While I'm out here, I thought I'd show you some of the varieties that are doing a really good job being in bloom. So this is the Quickfire. This is generally the very first one to bloom, and you can see it's already starting to open. We have a couple that were already opening more, but those of course sold very quickly. And this is more of a lace cap variety that turns a nice kind of mauve color. The other one that's an early to bloom variety is the Bobo. So you can see we're starting to get some floral action going on with those, and look at how covered in flowers the Bobo is. And this is one that stays a lot lower than the other varieties, so it's kind of an interesting one. So again, the Bobo tends to be an early one, as well as the Quickfire, and Pinky Winky is not far behind, and that's kind of par for the course with Pinky Winky. That one usually does open a little earlier than the others. And this is another one that's kind of a lace cap, but it's a little more closely resembling the regular panicles as well, and gets a really hot pink, and it's a huge giant flower on it. And then the firelights are also right, ahead of schedule compared to some of the other varieties. So when I look over here at some of the berry whites, those are just starting to get buds. The ones down here are ones that I think these are strawberry sundaes, we had ordered in from downstate. So these came in earlier this year, about 2 weeks ago, and they are in full bloom already. So these are beautiful, but these aren't the ones that we wintered over. So ours are always going to be a little bit behind those other ones. But some of the vanilla strawberries and diamond rouges that we had from last year, they're getting pretty close to being open. So any of the ones that have that little bit of more of a lacy cap tend to open a little early. But oh my goodness, look at the beautiful, I forgot how much I love hydrangeas until I start seeing the flowers on them. And then I want to just see, wasn't there another one that I had to show you? I think we do have some Quickfire Fabs also in the mix. I think those are right over here. So the Quickfire Fab is more of a traditional panicle type, but we're seeing lots of action going on with those buds. So we're going to be seeing flowers on there very, very soon. And then there's also, sorry, I got to slip over here, some of the oak leaf hydrangeas. These are the ones that we're kind of trying this year. They are a zone 5, so they're a little less hardy than the other varieties, but take a look at the flowers on those. They're really quite beautiful. They're kind of, they have a lot of the different, the kind of tight blooms inside and then those really nice petals on the outside. So really beautiful, and I love the leaves on these. They're just striking. These are huge plants, though. They get like 7 feet high and wide, and they kind of have a nice drape to them, just a little bit different than the regular panicle varieties. And of course, I already showed you the blush, but I can show you one of the lace cap ones as well. So here's the Incredible blush. You can see they start out a lot darker, and then once they open, they're going to be kind of pink, but they get a really light pink. And then the Incredibles, those are starting as well, so we're going to start seeing a lot of flowers on those. These are the Invincible Spirits. These tend to stay more pink than the blush, so these are going to be a lot darker. This is the Invincible Ruby, so this one gets a really nice red color. They haven't opened yet, but take a look at how it looks right now. I mean, that is truly red right now, but it is going to be a little lighter once those petals open. This is the Incredible Lace, or Invincible Lace, sorry, and those are just starting to get their flowers, so they get kind of a little halo of white flowers around these kind of plum blossoms in the middle, and then the stems tend to be a little bit of a plum color as well. So these are just an interesting one, a little bit different. This is another one that's new, so we're kind of curious about how that one's gonna do. And then there are the Annabelles. Annabelles do tend to come on pretty early. These are ones that we wintered over ourselves, so we don't have to worry about our Annabelles. They're the old-fashioned kind, and they tend to just behave, do what they're supposed to do, and give us lots of flowers. So always happy with those as well. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for this little hydrangea update. As you can see, I'm in the hydrangea tunnel. I'm getting some blooms off of the quick fires, and also the vanilla strawberries are going to be flowering very, very soon. So again, the hydrangea tunnel was just kind of an experiment to see if we could get kind of a canopy going of hydrangeas above our head with the hydrangea trees, and so far it seems to be working pretty well. It's a nice place to kind of walk around and check out, and that's one of the nice things about hydrangeas, is that they're so easy to grow and they're so forgiving that you can do experiments like that. So it makes them really good for beginning gardeners, and then advanced gardeners can kind of try different things and see how they behave under different conditions. So just makes them a little bit of an interesting plant, and they love our zone. So again, there's that hydrangea tunnel. And hey, I'm going to talk to you guys all very soon, and I'm going to keep you updated on all these experiments as we go. So thanks for watching.